Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for those of you who are joining us online. I want to just start off today by mentioning that today is the day that we are laying Detective Ryan Soe to rest. Detective Soe was killed last week, in fact 1 week ago. He is a Scottsdale police detective with their SAU unit, and I had the chance to go to his services this morning and hear about an incredible man. He served in a Navy to protect our country. He has been with Scottsdale PD for a number of years, has a wife and 3 daughters, and so my heart goes out to them as well as to his larger family and family at Scottsdale PD. And I would just ask the community to keep them in your prayers. This is a hard day today. So with that, I would like to start with an announcement about a defendant named Juan Ambriz, A-M-B-R-I-Z, Rincon, R-I-N-C-O-N. I first mentioned him to you about a year ago when he was indicted for organized retail crimes. All told, he stole what we believe to be about $1 million worth of merchandise from home improvement stores. This was in multiple states, so they were stores. Primarily hit was Home Depot throughout Maricopa County, as well as stores in California and New Mexico. We took the lead in prosecuting him, and I'm pleased to tell you that because of the hard work of my organized retail crime task force, he has now been sentenced. He will spend 3.5 years in prison here and pay restitution. So it was here in Maricopa County that he was stopped, and as I said, we took the lead in the prosecution. Home Depot and the other retailers have been cooperative with our office because they know we take these offenses seriously and that this person would be held accountable. And this defendant, like many others, pleaded guilty to his crimes, which leads me to my next topic of plea agreements. We've been getting a lot of questions about these lately, so I think I need to do some clarification, and I may do some additional video education later. But I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about plea deals and how they work. So in a nutshell, a plea deal is an agreement between the state or the prosecutor, the defense attorney or the defendant through his attorney, and the court about what should happen in a case. The parties agree to which charges the person will plead guilty to and oftentimes to the sentence, or they may agree to allow all or portions of the sentence to be left up to the judge. Plea agreements are not a slap on the wrist, and they do not mean a criminal is getting off easily. Sometimes they actually are very similar to the sentence the person would have received had the case gone to trial. So to understand the reason we use plea agreements, it's important to understand, honestly, the sheer volume of cases that are in the criminal justice system, and I'm going to focus obviously on Maricopa County. But as you've heard me say in the past, the county attorney's office in Maricopa County receives about 50,000 submittals requesting charges each year. My office has about 350 prosecutors, so if you do the math, even if we tried to take every single case to trial, not only would our office not be able to handle that, but the entire criminal justice system would be crushed by backlogs, and that means there would not be enough judges, there would not be enough defense attorneys, there would not be enough jurors to hear all of those. Plea agreements have positive aspects to them. Number one, they bring closure to the victim. A lot of victims do not want to proceed to trial. They want the case to be finalized. They bring certainty in that they assure a conviction and they assure within certain parameters what a sentence will be. And they also bring a finality in terms of once somebody pleads guilty, there is no appellate process. So it certainly shortens the process. So understand that no matter what, those 3 parties, the defendant through his attorney, the state, and the judge, always must approve the plea agreement. So with that, I will open this up for questions.
The first question is Stacy from AZ Central.
Please. Just so they can hear you.
Sure. No, just my first time. I'm Stacy Barchinger with the Arizona Republic. I had a question for you about your investigation with the Auditor General regarding the governor and Sunshine Residential Homes. Specifically, I'm wondering, Attorney General Mays, she was on Channel 12 over the weekend and said some things I'm wondering if you can respond to about your investigation, specifically that, I'll quote her, "One can only assume this is a highly political decision on your part to investigate, and that is connected to you being in the fight of your life politically in the primary." I wonder if you can respond.
Well, this was not something that I sought. This was something that I was sought for. Number one, as you know, Senator T.J. Shope wrote a letter to both Chris and me asking us to do an investigation, which was followed quickly by a letter from Representative Gress asking us to do it. But more importantly, I think, than looking at, who wrote what letter and who they wrote it to, I think you need to look at the appropriate investigative agency. This is a situation that I think most people are focused on was their criminal activity, but it's broader than that. It's not just looking at criminal activity, it's looking at whether there were administrative problems. Were there, for example, procurement issues? Were there administrative tweaks that need to happen to the process? And the best agency to determine that is not necessarily a police agency or an agency that's used to doing criminal investigations, but the Auditor General. And before Chris Mays ever wrote her letter saying we're doing this, we already had the Auditor General, which is a nonpartisan group, reach out to us and say, we would like you to partner with us on this investigation, and we had agreed to do that. This has nothing to do with political decisions. I'm a prosecutor. We do some investigations from this office. That's what we do. I think A.G. Mays understands that.
I wonder if you have any concern that she is acting motivated by politics.
Well, what I'm going to say is this. What's really important, I think, to the people of Maricopa County and Arizona out of this investigation is that they can have faith in the results. And as I pointed out in my letter to A.G. Mays, there are some things that could cause people to have concerns. Whether they actually are concerns or not, that's another issue. But whether they could cause people to have questions. And that includes the fact that she represents some of the agencies involved, that she's of the same political party as the governor, the fact that she arguably benefited in some way from funds from the Democratic Party. And so the issue is, can we look the people of Arizona in the eye and say, we did a nonpartisan, fair look at this, and here are our results, and you can have faith in those results? And she has to ask herself that question. Can you, it's not so I can hear you, so that, okay.
I'm just curious, you said the appearance of these results in that investigation, because A.G. Mays represents state agencies, and she's the same political party as the governor. What the hell can the AG represent then? I mean, the AG represents a lot of state agencies. Is she barred from looking into any state agencies? Also, could she not investigate a Democrat?
Well, no, obviously that's not the case, but I'm just saying those are some things that have been brought up, including where the money went and whether she benefited from those by subsequent letters that were authored by the Treasurer, Kimberly Yee, as well as Representative Livingston, and they're drawing into question those issues. And so I think it's important to have an investigation that people are going to have faith in.
Do you think Mays can conduct a fair and thorough investigation?
I think that the best agency to investigate is the Auditor General, and I think they've asked to work, I know they've asked to work with us.
But that's not the question. The question is, do you think A.G. Mays can conduct a thorough and fair investigation?
I certainly hope she does.
That's not.
Absolutely.
That doesn't sound like you have a lot of confidence.
I'm not judging whether she will or not. I'm hoping that she does. I do agree that it would be nice to have one department doing the investigation. I certainly hope she does, But I do think the Auditor General is the appropriate investigative agency.
No worries. The next questions that came into our office were on the, from channel 15. Is channel 15 here? All right.
Okay.
And then channel 10. Yep. And then the very next one is Ariana.
Hi, Ariana Garcilaso with Let me just double check.
Lower that if you need
Yeah.
to.
There we go.
Okay.
I'm with Telemundo, Arizona.
Yes.
My question is in regards to a child abuse case from last year in Glendale. It's Leila Lopez and Johnny Brazel. I understand your office is seeking the death penalty. Can you just touch a little bit on that? And then also, what are those additional felony charges that were added? If you could just clarify what those are.
So, yes, in fact, we filed a notice of intent to seek the death penalty on January 17th of this year. There were some additional charges that were added. Those involved charges related to specific acts of abuse. So they could be a combination of, for example, child abuse charges or assault or some variation of those. So that's what those were pertaining to.
I have a couple questions from our newsroom about the Pennington case, the Goons case. Okay. Why did you pursue revocation of probation instead of the probation department, is the question.
Well, we became aware of the violation of the probation, and because it happened so quickly after the sentencing, we filed the petition to revoke. The law allows us to do that. We do that on certain occasions, and because of the timing, we did it.
What was it about the timing? I'm sorry, that caused it?
Because it was very shortly thereafter sentencing.
Okay, so what was it that caused you to need to make that call real quick, or?
I think when somebody is taking probation terms without any degree of seriousness that they're offending that quickly, we're going to file a petition to revoke.
Okay, the reason I ask is because we were told that it's kind of, is it rare for that to happen, for you to be the one to take that step? Or is that?
I wouldn't call it rare. I mean, I've done it in my career.
Okay. Did MCAO direct Gilbert PD to bypass the probation department in this case? Did they, the question is, did MCAO direct Gilbert PD to bypass the probation department in this case? Like, I guess instead of allowing it to go through the, probation department?
Well, first of all, we don't direct Gilbert PD to do anything. They're a separate agency.
Okay.
And no, we didn't. We became aware of the information and we acted on the information.
Why did you offer probation in the first place on this case? Can you talk about that again?
Yeah, this was Mr. Pennington was charged with a Class 6 felony. As you know, but maybe some people listening do not know, Class 6 felony is the lowest level of felony in our criminal justice system. It is a felony that if people go to trial and are convicted of it, it could turn into a misdemeanor. It is probation eligible. It is something where it's likely that they will get probation. In fact, overwhelmingly likely that they'll get probation. And so we made that offer.
Okay. And then finally for me, have you had a chance to review AG May's response in the Gunches matter?
Yes.
To your motion? Okay. Do you have a response? Obviously, you made your arguments about how you think you do have standing for many different reasons. She offered the counter view. Anything shake out differently in the response that you have a response to at this time? Or?
You know, that's the nature of an adversarial system, and she's going to make her arguments. I'm going to make my arguments. Both sides, I'm sure, will abide by whatever the Arizona Supreme Court decides, but I will choose to go down fighting for victims.
How about
if I lose?
I hear you. How about specifically with regard to their, really forceful arguments that state law does not direct you to be able to do this? Can you just respond to that again, please?
We disagree, and I think we spelled out the reasons in our initial filing, and we'll in subsequent briefing schedule if the court sets it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think Channel 15 just walked in. They were, go ahead.
Hi, County Attorney Mitchell. Ashley Holden with ABC 15. In regards to the Goodyear cycling crash from February 2023, Have you read the entire NTSB report about that crash? The report was released just a few months ago.
Yeah, we had read it, yes, back when it was released, yes.
Does that change anything when it comes to pursuing possible felony charges?
No, the issue on pursuing felony charges in this case has to do with whether the acts committed by the individual constitute criminally reckless behavior, meaning that he was aware of and consciously disregarded a substantial and unjustifiable risk. And at the time, we did not feel like the evidence supported that. But the TSB report really backs up what our experts had already said on the case. And so, no, that doesn't change anything. As tragic as it is, and as much as we would like to do something in this matter.
You just commented on that report. What about that cell phone video that we actually saw just this week of him crying, saying that he allegedly killed someone?
We had reviewed it at the time we reviewed the case. This was, but again, the issue is not whether he's the actor involved. The issue is whether his acts rose to the level of criminally reckless behavior. And we know he was not impaired, for example. We know he was not engaged in excessive speed. And so based on the unfortunate definition that we're dealing with, it did not constitute the crime of manslaughter.
And my questions regarding Jacob Pennington, I know that you might have explained this already. I apologize for my tardiness. Can you explain the next steps? If you already have, we can skip that question.
I have, but I don't mind going over it again. So Mr. Pennington, as you know, quickly violated his terms of probation. We became aware of the information. We filed a petition to revoke his probation with the court, and we're awaiting the results of that.
And if you can answer this question, how often does your office file petitions to revoke someone's probation?
Somebody asked me that, whether it was rare. I think, was it you, Jimmy? Or somebody asked me. Okay, somebody asked me that. I wouldn't call it rare. I've done it as a prosecutor, but I can't give you the exact number of times that that's happened. One of the situations that's present here is the speed with which he did that, and so a lot of times when somebody is sentenced, they have an appointment to go meet their probation officer, to get put on probation, to be given terms, etc., and that there can be a little bit of a delay when it happens this quickly. That may or may not have happened. I don't know, but because we had the information, we acted on it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the time. Sean Rice from 12 News. I had a question about the Painton case as well. Could you give us, for context for our viewers, the last time your office has direct filed a probation revocation and the probation department did not? Is there a time that it's happened previously, more recent, that you could pinpoint?
I'd have to research that to look.
Okay.
I mean, I know of situations where, in cases that I've had in the past, but obviously I have not been a line attorney for a while, that I have filed where the probation department has not, but I can't give you the numbers of the most recent time. I can tell you it does happen.
Okay.
But again, I also draw your attention to the fact that the speed with which this happened was a factor, and so we did file the petition.
Was there anything about the offense, arresting offense, class 2 misdemeanor, that made you act quickly? I guess my direct question is, was there ever a thought in your mind to go to the probation department and not directly file a probation revocation, but get him back in line with his probation and not do a revocation? Was that ever a possibility?
Well, I mean, certainly the probation department can recommend that to the judge, and that's what the judge can order. It's still, regardless of whether we file it under the law or they file it under the law, it's still up to the judge. But the fact that it happens so quickly, and keep in mind, you say class 2 misdemeanor, but what I would say is there are terms of probation. Term 1 is obey all laws. Everything else is a technical term, which can be, a curfew term or go to counseling term. So this is a term 1 violation, and we took it seriously.
Yeah. Curious how you became aware of his initial arrest mere hours after sentencing.
I would have to look into that, I was advised about it, but I would have to look into how it actually came into our office, but obviously we were told.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Oh, Dennis was next. Dennis, you have one more, you said?
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. County Attorney, why have you skipped the 2 televised debates with your primary opponent, Gina Godbeer?
Because we had scheduling conflicts with both of those, but beyond that, I'm going to ask you to talk to my campaign about it, but I would say that there are other events that I am participating where she is present as well. I've already done that, and there will be more.
No, you think you would consent to a televised debate with Ms. Godbeer?
Say that
Would
again?
you consent to a televised debate with Ms. Godbeer?
If schedule allows, but reach out to my campaign. I want to keep this about MCAO.
We have time for Dennis and Ashley, and then County Attorney.
One more question, it won't kill you. Regarding this Pennington thing, this is something that Gabi here brings up quite a bit as well, and she basically kind of paints you as being soft on crime, and she points to the Palm Valley incident where you didn't bring a charge against a rapist, and the Goodyear bicycle chase was once again, you have someone who's mowed over a whole bunch of people and you didn't bring a charge. So what gives? Are you soft on crime?
This office is not soft on crime, but my opponent certainly wants to be county attorney really, really bad again. That's all I'm going to say on that.
Well, she hasn't been county attorney yet. But
I know, she's tried 4 times.
well, we'll see.
Next.
Yeah, and just one more follow-up on the DOJ report last week.
Yes.
On Phoenix Police, it found, Phoenix has one of the highest rate of officer-involved shootings, police shootings, of any city of its large city in the country, and they have a lot of problems with the use of force. It was a scathing report. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Yes.
I'd like to get your response from that report and the fact that we reviewed all the officer-involved shootings that have happened since you've taken over as county attorney, and you've not filed a single charge against a single Phoenix police officer in any of these shootings. I'd like you explain as to the difference between what we're reading in the DOJ report and what your office is seeing when you're reviewing these police shootings.
Well, first of all, and you may be right, the one I'm thinking of may not be Phoenix, but we have filed charges.
It's Mesa.
We have filed charges involving use of force against Phoenix police officers. The grand jury chose not to indict. But there are 2 different standards that we're looking at. My standard is whether there is a reasonable likelihood of conviction at trial. And these are not decisions that are made in a vacuum. They are solely my responsibility, but we look at them to determine whether that standard can be met, and we have a number of senior attorneys review them. We don't feel like any of the cases that you're referring to have met that standard. But I want to go back also on the comments about this report. Yes, it is scathing, but I would have expected nothing less from this Department of Justice. This Department of Justice has a history of trying to take over police agencies. Don't forget, I represent the Sheriff's Office, so I've seen what they can do. I believe they have taken cases that they've discussed grossly out of context. And, Phoenix Police, is it perfect? No, there's no agency that's perfect. But no matter what the problem is, I can guarantee you DOJ is not the solution.
Stephen, if you would let Ashley, she's the last question. I apologize, I know the agenda, as you always are.
One more question about the Pennington case. I
Sure.
know that he had sentencings in one in Pinell County, one here in Maricopa County. Was his probation ever officially transferred to Maricopa County where he lives, or will Pinell County also play a role in kind of what happens next?
Typically what happens is if they're sentenced in a county where, or even a state sometimes, where they don't live, it's transferred to where they do live. Whether that official transfer has happened yet in the paperwork, I don't know.
Okay, thank
But
you.
likely that's what will happen.
That's it, folks. That's
Thank
what
you.
we're talking about.